Hi Dave, how you doing? So I got your sketches up and I'm seeing some really super interesting stuff here. And I think there's just so much more to talk about here than in the first iteration where you went straight to digital. And you can, I mean, if you take a look at your first submission and then look at this one, I mean, the ideas here are just so much clearly more complex, deeper, and just more robust. And so I think it works. I think sketching is a big part of any design process, any design methodology should include sketching, and it's really important. And again, once again, I just want to reiterate, it's really important to understand the computer can't keep up with your mind. It just can't. Here, I can see that you're sketching quickly. Your ideas are transposing quickly from mind to paper. So you're getting it down. Your ideas are clear. They're much more robust than they were in the digital version. So, I quite often I advise students that, you get your pages and pages and pages of sketches together, then start combing through them and start understanding your own ideas, and then start diluting them down or kind of percolating your ideas to a simpler a visual presentation. So that you're starting to create symbols and starting to speak symbolically and starting to encode these symbols with meaning. Okay, so let's go through here. Now, there's a couple of things I want to mention in terms of a lot of your sketches, like things like this, fire and ice. That's just going to be too complex to try to digitally illustrate fire and ice. It's a lot there. There's a lot there that is trying to happen. Same thing here with volcano, ice, fire, and I think a lot of here you got a lot of more pictorial representations than abstract kind of symbolic representations. And I think going symbology is the way to go. For that reason, I'm really drawn to things like this. This is fantastic right here. That could be a logo right there. That could be an Olympic logo right there. With the typography, the Olympic rings. The end of all anger, that's fantastic symbol. See, things like this are just too pictorial. The Viking ship, again, too pictorial. These are, again, too pictorial. Fire and ice, geyser. Finding some real potential down here. I think this is fantastic. I think this is fantastic. I think this has some potential. There's another one that's got a lot of potential right here. But my only recommendation is this. I'm going to show you something. Let's jump over again right here. Very good. But the fire and ice, again, too much. Remember, this is just a simple symbolic representation of an idea that is going to act as a logo or a visual identifier for the game. So you don't really need to tell a story. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to tell fire and ice and volcanoes and geysers and et cetera, et cetera. You really just want to make a memorable mark out of something that could be considered to be symbolic. One thing I want to mention is this. I'm going to just jump over here real quick. Let's do this. Let's take a look at this. I want you to do this in your next step before you continue. I just did this real quickly. I just did Olympic logos. I did an image search for Google image search for Olympic logos, and I just came up with all sorts of these. This is the best and the worst. And of course, London 2012 was always probably considered the worst logo of all. Vancouver 2010 wasn't a great logo, but the graphics package on that one was phenomenal. Salt Lake City 2002 was fantastic because it's showing like this kind of abstract representation of mountains. And then you have the cold represented by the blue on the bottom mountains. Then you have the sky and the warmer sky represented by those warm. And then the whole thing is kind of configured in this southwestern kind of visual style with the patterns and those kind of southwestern patterns. So I think that's fantastic. So I guess what I'm saying is just go through these and start understanding where these designers are coming from and what they're saying and how they're saying it, and note that they're not telling pictorial stories. They're basically doing, I love this, Innsbruck 64, that's a great one. They're basically telling, Tokyo 64, 50, 60, whatever. Tokyo, that's another fantastic one. That one won a lot of awards, by the way. But they're not telling these pictorial stories. There's more of a symbol associated. And I think that's really important for yours. Now, one thing I wanted to mention, and something like the one that I said I really like, is this one right here. But what I would recommend is to try to give this a more of uh, a modern visual demeanor. In other words, don't just use that ancient symbol. Try to modernize it. Try to modernize it and give it your own kind of your own flair, so to speak. Same thing as if you go this direction here or any of these directions here. This, I think, there's just too much going on here. You've got the ship, you got the top, the head of the ship, you got the symbol, you got the rings, you got the sign, you got the year. Maybe too much, maybe not. Work it out, see what happens. It could work. Um, but again, I would stay away from these pictorial representations and try to stick more towards these symbolic, kind of abstract, encoding meaning into symbols. This is fantastic energy. I can see that, man. I can totally see that as an Olympic logo. I think this has huge potential right here. This is too much. You know what? That looks like the control key on a Mac, so we kind of stay away from that. Unfortunately, it's a great symbol, but and I didn't realize that was a North symbol for attraction. I always thought it was the control key on the Mac. But all right, so I think that you get kind of where I'm coming from, and I think that doing this, slowing down, and I'm not by all means not trying to make more work for you. I just think that your visual representations going straight to digital just weren't that. They just weren't that interesting in terms of moving forth to your student portfolio, where a portfolio reviewer is going to look at it and say, "Wow, some thought went into that." And I just didn't see that in the digital examples that you had first submitted. Here, I'm seeing it. I'm definitely seeing thought behind every one of these. So, all right. So those would be my recommendations moving forward. Now, I'm not going to play art director and say, okay, do this. I want you to just weigh my comments and take a look and keep studying your own work, keep studying your own sketches, keep studying your own process idea, your methodology here behind your sketches, and it will click. It will click. And then when it does click, go ahead and move forward in the direction that you feel most appropriate. All right? Any questions at all, give me a holler. Thanks, Dave. Good job.